Statements. Are there any statements? The member for Walkham Hills.
Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. Mr Acting Speaker, some 6 months ago, under the patronage of the Premier Mike Baird in his capacity as Minister for Western Sydney, Clubs New South Wales CEO Anthony Ball and I established the Premier's Western Sydney Anzac Scholarship, and I acknowledge the member for Walkham Hills who's in the chamber today, who was also very much involved in this scholarship. Mr Acting Speaker, member for Blue Mountains, who was very much involved in this scholarship. Mr Acting Speaker, the scholarship was established open to all 16 and 17-year-old scholars, HSC students and senior high school students across Western Sydney. They were asked to provide a 1,000-word essay on why the centenary of Anzac is important for modern Australia. There were 80 shortlisted, with 20 being interviewed and sent to a judging panel made up of the member for Blue Mountains, as well as the former Premier Nathan Rees and General Warren Glennie, 2nd Division Commander, retired. And we came down to 6 students who the Premier announced in August would be on their way to a wonderful trip to Gallipoli, the Western Front and London. Mr Acting Speaker, those students returned last Thursday night, and while they were away they were asked to write a journal and some poetry about their experience. These kids came from working class and middle class backgrounds. Some of them had never travelled before, and yet their scholarship skills meant that I suspect they will be very much leaders of our community in years to come. One of the poems that was written when we just left Anzac Cove, I'm going to read to you now, Mr Acting Speaker, at least extracts of it, as well as some extracts from others. Mr Acting Speaker, little Hined Silva from Walkham Hills High School, she's 16 years old, and on leaving Anzac Cove, she wrote in a poem, 100 years has since gone by, they left their homes, they bade goodbye, 100 years has since passed, they were young at age and heart. The shores of pebbles drown my feet, the deathbed which many of ours did greet. Softly the waves lap the shore of Gallipoli, once war-torn land now exules tranquillity. Mr Acting Speaker, she finished by saying, 100 years have since gone by, a mother's tears are still not dry, 100 years have since passed, their courage brought us peace at last. Very, very chilling words from a young lady who had comes from a non-English speaking background and yet clearly has got a long way to go in her academic prowess, because she's going to be an Oxford scholar, no doubt. Madison Thompson from St Columbus, she wrote, yet I sense that stop time has torn a hole in this place. The beauty is undeniable as the sorrow. Those men cannot be released from beneath their silent stones. I murmur a prayer into the peace, knowing my wish cannot possibly follow. Mr Acting Speaker, Emily Frey of Waucocas Hill High School, she wrote, we remember the tears I shed on the once raging battlefield, are just a drop in the ocean of despair already shed by the women hurt 100 years ago. We remember them, the undeniable role that have played in shaping Australia into the peaceful society it is today. We remember them. Jack Jeffries from Parramatta Marist High, on leaving Anzac Cove, wrote, along the sandy shores of barren beauty, endless stones line the water's edge, marking the graves of those fallen brothers, deserving of more than our mere Anzac pledge. And Dan Nguyen, a Vietnamese boy from Bankstown, he wrote on leaving Anzac Cove, today young Australians pay their respects, a wreath upon the memorial of World War. The passing years will not dampen their effect, and their name will liveth forevermore. Mr Acting Speaker, this was quite an extraordinary experience for the member for Blue Mountains and I in taking these young students across the battlefields of Europe. And Sam Lewis, I think, captured it very well by writing, the Turks released their bullets, firing in a bright and deadly flash, yet nonetheless the Anzacs charged, fearing neither death nor ash. Mr Acting Speaker, I think you'll find that these poems and the tributes and journals that they kept are quite extraordinary. One of them I'm going to read into the Hansard because it is quite emotional for those of you who have an interest in military history, and that was by Madison Thompson. She was a 16-year-old lady from the Blue Mountains, and she wrote on leaving Gallipoli, today was possibly the most momentous day of my life, one which I have been anticipating for some time. We are going to see Gallipoli, dressed in our blazers and formal finery. We were blessed with a warm day and clear blue skies. I was struck by the words of our Turkish tour guide as we rattled along the dusty road to the battlefields. Quote, You and me, we were once fighting against each other, but since then there has grown a friendship strong and never before seen. You and me are now friends. Mr Acting Speaker, this was a wonderful occasion for these 6 Western Sydney students. I thank Clubs New South Wales for the sponsorship, and I suspect the success of this event will mean it will carry on again in the future.